Are we recording? Leave a recording. Okay. Yes. I got blocked again. I figured out what happened. The bot has gone amok on Facebook. It is blocking people for discussing situational ethics and hypothetical things where they mention shooting something. So I tried to express this to again, you can see restriction until May 17th, or on May 17th. Yeah, today. And I apologized. I unblocked and apologized to Brandon Braun here. He claims you didn't apologize for anything, even though I said I apologized for assuming. Well, let me just read that statement here. Scroll up on a wobble camera, sorry. I said, my apology. I found it unbelievable Facebook's bot was this out of control, but apparently just using certain words, even in a situational ethics discussion, gets one blocked now. The hassle could have been avoided had you not asked what had an obvious answer, but my apology presuming what seemed apparent. Presuming what seemed apparent. Sorry, Facebook is junkware. He says, may I ask, are you high? No, I've never gotten high. And that's kind of a irrelevant question. Then he says, you didn't apologize for anything. In the most broken English I've ever seen you, in the most broken English I've ever seen, you found a way to blame Facebook for your inability to be coherent. They don't block people for being incoherent, you knucklehead. So BS and science ed, etc., and don't really have that problem. Anyway, well, let's focus on the issue. I had told my friend Rossi what happened on the last block, and I got blocked again just for telling somebody what happened. So Facebook's bot is just scanning, and it accuses people of bullying when it has nothing to do with bullying whatsoever. I was just answering the guy's question, and he's a universalist, which means he believes everyone goes to heaven eventually. And it's interesting, he treats people, when I came into the discussion, he was just abusing a guy. I mean, just flat out calling him every name in the book. And I tried to bring some order to the discussion out of the chaos, and that's how I was thanked. He asked, if you were, a parent, would you harm your children? And he's trying to make the argument that God would never harm any of his children by sending them to a place known as Hades, of course. And the problem with this argument is if people develop completely foul characters and all they are good for is abusing other people, if they reach a point, as in the days of Noah in Genesis 6, where it says every inclination of their heart was only evil all of the time. This is the state of the world, and this is why God flooded it. He repented of making man. It saddened him so much to have to destroy the creation he'd made. But he did that because it saved the few who still had a chance of developing solid relationships with him and having a spiritual development of something good. I believe God creates us in his image with a autonomous control over our character determination. And so we can develop a really foul character, or we can develop a character that's in keeping with his character and enjoy that friendship that he wants us to have. But yeah, Brandon believes we all just go to heaven, Hitler and everybody. And I'm surprised he hasn't said go to hell yet. Oh wait, we did away with that, didn't we? There's a skit called The Religion Store. If you get a chance to watch that, it's quite a humorous approach to the issue. But yeah, the universalist issue is dealing with Jesus' words where he said, out of my sight, you workers of iniquity, I never knew you, or anybody that says there's no place of separation from God. he says out of my sight. He didn't say out of existence or out of my sight temporarily. He said out of my sight, for I never knew you. Now, if he's out of your sight, there's no way to ever get to know him. Hence, that logic is perpetually an infinite loop. And so you never can get to know him out of his sight. And so, yeah, that's a non-argument scripturally. There is a place set apart, it says, and it's sad when people decide to go there, and it grieved God that people went there initially in the Genesis 6 excerpt, of course, and it's never his will that anyone perish. He's not willing that anyone perish. So he did all things for his good pleasure. Made creation, and it was good. And it was good because it stood the potential of producing a fruit of loving characters. And that's what he hoped for. Creation in Romans 8:20 is creation is subject to vanity, not of its own will, but by the will of he who subjected it, and hopes that it will be freed from corruption and become children of God. So that's his hope, ultimately, is that we see that other things are vain, that seeking after riches or pleasure or whatever the things Solomon sought after in Ecclesiastes, that they were all meaningless, they're vain, they have no outcome that is leaving any kind of fruit. You know, people are all concerned about this kind of activity or that. Well, what's the fruit of it? Well, temporary pleasure, it's hedonism. And it has no other fruit. And when it's that, it's a self-centered thing. It's not seeking the best for someone else. In fact, people will sacrifice health. There are higher rates of cancer and infection for certain kinds of activities. And it's not love to partake in those activities. It's hedonism. It's hedonism, a temporary pleasure. It leaves you with nothing, and then you get sick. You know, that's what it winds up with. So the whole of creation is groaning for a day when things will be brought to fruition in God. But between now and then, we've got to put up with things like this. But anyway, my apologies to any offense I created there, because when I create an offense once in a blue moon, I mean, I really do try to be careful on these things and be very certain that but here I was tired and the guy was being insulting, and I just finally threw up my hands and like, okay, now I'm blocked. And I said, well, he obviously accused me of bullying, because how else can that happen? And I made a presumption there. How else can it happen? Facebook can totally lie through their teeth, make up arbitrary rules, and just impose them on nonsense. So who would have thunk, right? But that's what happened. The bot is out of control. The bot is out of control. Sterilize, sterilize, it must sterilize. Okay, who knows what that's from? Say it in the comments. Bob here of Sound Doctrine, signing off.